I'm not defensive about it.
Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another edition of the Opposition Preview. Guys, first things first, make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you're new around here, all of that good stuff. And Chelsea are back in action Monday night with Wolves visiting Stamford Bridge. And we are currently winless in our last 5 games and have now dropped out of the top 4 for the first time since October. Wolves, new manager, slight upturn in fortunes with a couple of decent results under Vitor Pereira, but still just hovering above the relegation zone, level on points with Ipswich. Still a lot of work to do there. So it's going to be an interesting game. Delighted to be joined by Dave from Talking Wolves, mate. Thanks for coming on as always. We were just chatting, like, obviously we had the reverse fixture at Molineux all the way back in August. Obviously Chelsea running out 6-2 winners in that one. A lot has changed since then. Obviously things weren't going very well for Gary O'Neill. He's been replaced by Vitor Pereira. Just briefly, mate, what were your thoughts on that? O'Neill going, did he stay too long? And your thoughts on Vitor Pereira replacing him?
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on again, man. Yeah, that game feels like a lifetime ago, really. Still such a frustrating afternoon that was, because I felt that Wolves were very much in the game and just completely fell apart in the second half. I think it was 2-2 at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the start to the season to Gary O'Neill was really frustrating, quite poor. Just whatever he tried this season just didn't work. It didn't click. And yeah, he probably left or got let go probably a lot later than what a lot of fans would have wanted. It probably could have happened 5 or 6 games before. I think one of the main reasons it probably didn't was the owners at the moment just don't want to pump much money into the club. So I think, if you're somebody looking to maybe join the club, you look at the league position. The least that you want really is the guarantee that you're going to get backed in January. And the likes of Potter, Moyes, etc., they didn't want the job because ultimately they wanted to be backed, which we weren't going to do. So Gary O'Neill sort of stayed probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 games longer than what was expected. But yeah, we lost out to Ipswich. There was really poor scenes after the game. Obviously, you saw Matheus Cunha and some of their staff members just a complete overreaction. Gary then threw the players under the bus, and ultimately it was only going to end one way. Thankfully, Vitor stepped up. I think we had to lean once again on Jorge Mendes to try and get something done. And yeah, look, his CV was very interesting. You saw the amount of clubs that he'd been at, really different levels and different countries. But so far, it's okay. A guy that speaks his mind, which at times is quite refreshing. Obviously got really interesting ideas tactically. And yeah, like you said, a little upturn in form. We went the first 3 unbeaten, beating Leicester and Manchester United, which are great wins, getting a point away at Spurs. But since then, it's 2 back-to-back 3-0 defeats, which are a little bit concerning. However, I think in both results, it probably flatters the opposition a little bit in terms of chances that we've been creating have been very, very good. Just putting it in the back of the net is our problem, and then just daft defensive errors costing us. So look, 2 informed teams that we've lost to in Nottingham Forest and Newcastle, and ultimately that's why they're towards the top end of the table and we're at the bottom. When they get chances, they were taking them, and when we got chances, we didn't. So look, there's still positives there, but still a lot of negativity around Wolves and Wolverhampton at the moment. And look, despite your guys' run, I have no doubt it's going to be a tricky game. And then we've got the likes of Arsenal and Villa coming up as well. It's still going to be a tricky run for Wolves.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's funny you mentioned, missing chances and making stupid defensive errors. That's exactly what we've been doing at the moment, sort of last 4 or 5 games. But so yeah, there's a kind of maybe a little bit of a similarity there. You touched on back in January. Obviously, you're in a precarious position. Going down is still very much a possibility.
Yeah.
How much money really is there available? And do you think it's at a stage where now, if you don't bring any players in January, you could be asking for big trouble? I know you made an inquiry about Renato Vega, who joined us in the summer. That was obviously turned down. Do you expect much business? Do you need to do something?
Yeah, there has to be business. I mean, we've already dipped into the market a little bit. We've signed Ivory Coast International, Emmanuel Agbadou, big defensive unit, which is what we've needed. Played 2 games already in the FA Cup and against Newcastle, and shown good signs, shown that it's going to be an improvement to the defence, which has been a massive issue for Wolves over the last sort of 12 months or so. The manager's still desperate to get at least 2 more in. I think it's such a difficult window. A lot of Wolves fans are sort of losing their minds over it because it's not that there's no transfer business. There's like no rumours or anything. The news is so quiet and it's so obvious that we need to bring players in. But I think if you calm down a little bit and actually look at the business the rest of the league is doing, there's not much business going on at all. It's such a difficult window, and it has been for the last 2 or 3 January windows as well. So Vega would have been a nice one because he was a left-sided defender, which we would have needed. Agbadu could have played on the right. So I think they're still very much in the market for another defender. And they want another midfielder as well. Again, in his press conference, that's what he was talking about. He says he just wants someone who's an athlete in the middle, someone that can just energetic, which is what we need. So I don't know. There will be money there. I just hope it's used properly and not used too late. I think the thing with Fosun, who own us, is that they're happy if you offered them 17th place every season. I think they'll take it, unfortunately. When we're in desperate need, they will somehow find the money to spend to save Wolves. But could this be one season too far for them? I don't know. But really, we need another couple of players before the end of the window, I think.
I mean, in positive news, Matheus Cunha is close to signing an extension, or already has signed an extension. Reports, some saying there might be a release clause in his contract, others not. Do you think this is kind of just a way of delaying the inevitable and getting more money from a sale, which could well come in the summer? Is that how it's being viewed?
Yeah, I think so. Matheus is fantastic. And although Wolves have sort of been quite mediocre over the last few years, we've constantly had 1 or 2 real top players in the squad. Obviously, you guys picked up Pedro Neto previously. We've had Neves and co. We've had some really, really top talents, and Jota previously as well. So I think Cunha's just another one of those. I think this is probably to protect us for a couple of things. I think obviously if we can tie him down to a new deal, great. Hopefully it'll give us a big boost in morale, but also I think it's probably to cover us if we go down as well. I think they will put a relegation release clause on there, basically for Wolves to get their money back. I think there was reports that they put a release clause of about 45 million, which is what we paid for him. You get your money back on him. Getting that amount of money when you're in the Championship is a huge amount of money, really. But I hope he stays. I hope obviously we stay up. We've missed him a little bit over the last few games, but he's one of the reasons, the only reason probably we're outside the bottom 3 at the moment. He can win games or win points on his own, and he missed training today with the flu. So I really hope that he's back over the weekend and then can start against Chelsea, because genuinely he will be the biggest reason, I think, between Wolves remaining as a Premier League team or Wolves going down this season.
Pretty sure he scored a hat-trick at Stamford Bridge last season as well.
He did, yeah. It wasn't a great hat-trick, mine, but hat-trick nonetheless.
Well, I mean, they all count. He beat us 4-2, so yeah, that was a bad day at the office for us. Yeah, I mean, in terms of this game itself, I mean, from a Chelsea perspective, I mean, how can we expect Vitor Pereira to set Wolves up, and how different is what you're doing under him compared to what we saw from Gary O'Neill?
You've got a little bit more of an idea on how we're going to set up now. Under Gary O'Neill, I think this is probably one of the things that held him back. There was just no consistency in terms of personnel or tactics. I think he was chopping and changing things. I used this example earlier on in the season. I remember under Nuno, where you could have quite a poor game, but you knew what the lineup was going to be the next game because he stuck with everyone. You just wanted consistency in the team, and that's what we're seeing really under Nottingham Forest at the moment as well. Whereas Gary, just if something went wrong, he would chop and change it, and he was always trying to change and tinker. Vitor, we've sort of seen the same shape pretty much throughout. He plays a back 5-2-3 basically, or 3-4-3. Centre backs almost as wide centre backs. It allows the wing backs to get up a little bit. We've played, I don't want to say negatively against Newcastle. We did sit quite deep, allowed them quite a lot of the ball, but on the counter attack, we did look really dangerous, to be honest. But like I said earlier, just weren't putting the chances into the back of the net. So, again, I don't know really at the moment. I don't think he completely knows what his best team is, Vitor. He's stuck with the middle 2 of João Gomez on Andre, which seems to be working okay. The front 3 has changed around a little bit with Cunha's suspension. But yeah, I think Cunha's a big part of it. If we can get him to start and play, I think he's going to be a massive boost for us on Monday, because he, like I said, he can drag us through most games and win his points on his own.
I mean, you mentioned Pedro Neto. Obviously, he arrived in the summer. He's done all right. a lot of Chelsea fans kind of expecting a bit more from him. He's never really been a goal-scoring winger. So, I mean, if we wanted a goal-scoring winger, you probably shouldn't be signing him. He's much more of a creative spark. But, I mean, what have you made of what he's done at Chelsea so far?
Yeah, I mean, I saw during the week there was a little bit of stick from Chelsea fans on social media about him. I don't know. The main issue, and I think I said this to you maybe earlier in the season or in the summer, was his fitness. And I think if he can stay fit, you've got one hell of a player there. I think he does, he's a confidence player. I think when his morale is high and he's got the confidence and he's getting a lot of minutes, he will show you the ability that he's got. He can do frustrating things at times, but I don't know. I think in terms of his end product, certainly last season when he was fit, he seemed to improve that quite a lot at Wolves. But I think this happens with quite a few players, and probably not just Pedro. He was a big fish in quite a small pond at Wolves, and all the attention was around him, which I think he loved. Whereas Chelsea, there's so many great players there, and so many players in that position on its own as well. So I think it will take some adjustment. Look, when you've had a player like Neto in the Premier League for such 4, 5, 6 seasons already under Wolves, you would hope that the adjustment would be a little bit quicker. But yeah, I think with the talent that you've got there, it's probably always difficult for him to hit the ground running straight away. But Chelsea have got a talent there for sure. If he stays fit, I think he's one hell of an asset anyway.
Yeah, no, I think I really like him. I think we just need to. I mean, it would help if we had an alternative striker. Someone with a presence in the box, because he puts a lot of balls in there, and Jackson's just not really it's not that kind of a striker to get on the end of them sort of things. So yeah, no, look, I'm pleased with him. I think he's doing well. Yes, the output does need to be greater. But we can apply that to pretty much all the forward players, bar Cole Palmer. I mean, just briefly, mate, what have you made of Chelsea? Because we started really well, and now the first sort of difficulties have arisen. We're 5 games without a win. We're struggling to score goals. What have you made of us overall?
I think it's interesting because obviously you've got bringing Maresca in, who at the top level is inexperienced as being the main man. Really, he's got experience coaching in the Premier League and so on, but being that the main guy, he's only got really 1 year's experience with Leicester. So I really didn't know how it was going to go for you guys. I genuinely, ignoring the last 5 or so games, I actually think he's doing quite a good job considering, to be honest. I think there's no doubt there was going to come a time where Chelsea clicked, because I think obviously there's all this, the players that you signed, the money you spent and whatever, but there was so much quality in that squad. If you got someone to sort it out, I think, no doubt, I think you go on to push, towards the top 6 again, which you are currently doing. I hope on Monday, obviously, that bad run continues for you. But then, obviously, I hope you get back to winning ways after that. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of likable players at Chelsea. I look at certain players, and I think even Jackson. He's been in my fantasy team for the last few weeks or so, and I watch games and think he almost does everything right apart from put the ball in the back of the net. I just can't believe.
Yeah.
I watched the highlights. I watched the highlights the other day. And the amount of chances he had, I thought, how have you not scored a single goal? It's crazy. And again, just things like, if it clicks, I think Chelsea are laughing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, the game Monday's going to be interesting. I mean, it's only Friday today, but obviously Cole Palmer, Colwell, Enzo Fernandez, and Lavia all missed training. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to be missing on Monday, but it's not an ideal situation when probably 4 of our best players potentially could be missing, and we are light in certain areas. So I'm not really sure who's going to be available or what team are going to be able to put out. But I mean, how do you see this one going, mate? To round out, I mean, what are your expectations for the game? Would you just want to see you guys sit tight, maybe get a point? Do you think you're capable of getting a win potentially?
I think we're capable. I say it every game. I think Wolves have got the quality to hurt teams, but for whatever reason, it's just not happening. It's not working this season. I think a lot of Wolves fans would probably take a point right now. I think every point in the position that we're in is crucial. I think Ipswich, who, it's crazy to say, they're probably our main sort of rival at the moment for survival. They've got City, so you would hope Man City can help us out. So a point here would be massive for Wolves. Ultimately, it's a lot of it may well come down to goal difference. So I think if you're keeping your goal difference as tight as you can, then that's okay. If some of the big guys for you are missing, like the Cole Palmers and so on, I think that's a big boost for Wolves. I think the reverse fixture, we were capable to get something out of that game and completely fell apart in the second half. last season we got the double because I think we matched you and played extremely well. So look, I have no doubt Wolves can go into this game and cause Chelsea some problems, but it could go either way. Chelsea could wake up and end their bad run and easily knock 2 or 3 past us, I think, with the chances that you're creating. But on the flip side, if you guys still haven't turned up and all of a sudden, we wake up a little bit, it could go the opposite way. So close game. I would take a point right now, but it's probably going to be like a 2-1 game either way, I think.
Mate, I'd absolutely sign up for that. And last thing, mate, Noni Madueke going to get a great reception from the Wolves fans.
Oh yeah, I mean the timing of that last season. I mean, you were there, so you saw the reception he got, and then he certainly silenced just by scoring the full goal. That was the hat trick. That was so frustrating though. Every single goal seemed to be the same. The quality of defending for that second half was appalling. So that was frustrating. But yeah, as long as we can keep him quiet on Monday, mate, I'll be happy.
Nah, for sure. Mate, thanks so much for your time as always. Greatly appreciated. If people want to check out what you're doing and what you guys are doing, let them know where to go.
Yeah, it's at Talking Walls everywhere. So we've got, obviously on the YouTube, we do a preview with Charlie as well to get his thoughts. And then the reaction after the game, I'll be at Stamford Bridge. So I'll probably do the video outside of there. And obviously our podcast and stuff, we're giving a bit of a deeper dive into the game. So if you want to check that out, feel free to do so.
Guys, make sure you do that. It'll be tagged in the title. Go over there, subscribe. Loads of great content. And yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and catch you again in another one soon.